Hi there. Thanks for tuning into our podcast feed. I'm Pastor Tim here at Grace of God, Long Island. What you're listening to right now is part of an occasional series you'll find in this feed, which I'm calling Deleted Scenes. Just like when a movie or a TV show is being made, it occasionally happens as I'm writing a sermon that it goes too long and something needs cutting. Generally, that's because I let myself just go on and the trim material isn't worth it. However, sometimes I find myself cutting something that I think would have some value in saying, but it just doesn't flow well into the rest of the sermon, or it simply ends up too long. When I have a piece that I think meets that standard, you'll find it in this feed on Tuesdays as a deleted scene. Today our deleted scene is actually from last week's sermon on Amos 5. I didn't have this recorded in time to push it out last week. I'd suggest going back to last week's episode in the feed, listening to that, and reading those verses from Amos 5, 7-15. I'd also suggest reading Mark 10, 17-27, a story from Jesus' life we also heard in church last week. Both of those Bible selections talk to us about prosperity and wealth. In Amos 5, some wealthy people who have been using their wealth to influence the justice system of their country receive a warning. God is more powerful than they are with their wealth and influence, and he has the power to destroy them. In Mark 10, a rich man is told by Jesus that despite all his wealth, he cannot get himself to heaven. He loves his money more than he actually loves God. These selections might make it sound like God inherently has a problem with wealth and wealthy people. That's just not true. Elsewhere in the Bible, we read the stories of any number of wealthy people who were wholehearted God followers. We shouldn't think that God is telling us in these selections that wealth is inherently evil. We should instead see this simple truth. The desire for wealth can lead to a lot of sinful actions and attitudes. When we think about earthly wealth, we should ask this question: what's the point? And that's not a rhetorical question. We really should ask, for what purpose does wealth, my wealth, exist? Soren Kierkegaard was a Christian philosopher in the 1800s, and he had these thoughts about wealth. In his book, Christian Discourses, he asks, "What is prosperity? Prosperity is what is helpful to me in reaching my goal. Adversity is what will prevent me from reaching my goal." Kierkegaard knows that we all ultimately want to prosper, to have prosperity, and there's nothing wrong with that. The problem for us is that our natural mind wants to define prosperity in a single flawed way. To our natural minds, prosperity is having cash and power. One leads to the other. I have power and profit from it. I have money and acquire power with it. That, according to our natural minds, is prosperity. Kierkegaard wants us to ask the question, what's the goal of that prosperity? That definition of prosperity becomes a goal in itself. I want more power, so I can have more cash, so I can have more power, so I can have more cash, and so on. There's no real goal. The real goal that's set before all of us is heaven. Life, rather than death. But that goal is impossible for us to reach, so we look for something else to chase after. We can't get ourselves to heaven, and when we chase after earthly prosperity, we are unconsciously admitting that fact. But the work of Jesus is this: he has brought us to the finish line for free, just because he loves us. This goal of eternity is accomplished. We are saved. We are set free from earning heaven. That change of perspective, seeing that we've been brought to the real goal, changes our perspective on wealth also. We can see that worldly prosperity can mean eternal adversity. Cash and power in this life can lead us away from Jesus and his salvation. We also see that earthly adversity can mean eternal prosperity. Hardship in this life can push us back into the arms of Jesus, who loves us. As you go back out into the world, think about prosperity with that perspective shift. You're saved. You're going to live forever. Eternity is yours. Earthly prosperity doesn't need to be an end in itself. If God prospers you in this life, use it to share his love with others. If God brings adversity in this life, see it as the opportunity it is to share your confidence in him with others. Either way, be sure of this: eternal prosperity is yours. That's our sermon deleted scene today. Music is What Words Can't Describe by Vlad Gluschenko at soundcloud.com/VGL9. Thanks again for listening. Please share our podcast feed with others and share with them the peace that you have in Jesus. I'm Pastor Tim Walsh at Grace of God in Dix Hills, 510 Deer Park, just north off LIE exit 51. Join us on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. God bless and keep you this week.